Hello everyone, and welcome to the pilot episode of the Retro Viking podcast. I am your host, Retro Viking, and it is with great pleasure that we will spend the next 15 minutes or so talking about classic, weird, and obscure video games. The purpose of this podcast is for us to rediscover some of our favorite games from our childhood, as well as to find some of the most bizarre titles that we ever came across, as well as taking a look at some maybe more obscure original games that we might have missed originally, but that are definitely worth looking into today. So before we start, I just want to thank everybody that are following on the Facebook group. We are about to reach the 200 members mark for the Facebook Retro Viking group. So thank you once again to everybody that just joined. It's always a pleasure to discuss about video games and everything. So the main focus of today's pilot episode is for us to discuss about the tournament that's going on. There's presently a tournament that's been rolling for the last few days, actually since the beginning of August. So it's the amazing best 90's retro game, the best PC game of all time. So there's been a lot of controversy around this tournament, and this was expected. This usually happens when you put two excellent games, when you pit two excellent games, one against the other. There's always going to be some people that are going to be for and some people that are going to be against your opinion, because every game is the best in the whole world for at least somebody. And this is basically what we've been seeing. So for those that might have missed it, I have a few highlights. So in round number 1, we're going to go through the matchups real quick, and at the same time, I'm gonna, if there's anything special that I can remember from one of the titles, I'll make sure to let you guys know. But basically, the first matchup in August was StarCraft versus Warcraft 2, and StarCraft won actually by a few votes. I believe StarCraft was the better game of the two. I've never been a huge StarCraft player. In fact, the first time that I played StarCraft, the only time I played StarCraft, my friend told me, hey, try this multiplayer game, and multiplayer was like brand new at the time. So because I was not a PC player at that point, I was more into consoles. So I probably played against somebody in Korea because I got killed in like 2 minutes. And it was like, okay. So but I can definitely see that StarCraft was the better game of the two. So the next matchup that we had was Age of Empires versus System Shock. So again, these are two titles that I'm not too familiar with. I did used to own Age of Empires on PlayStation, the original PlayStation, the gray box. So that's pretty much the only Age of Empires that I played. I've never really played System Shock. I think I did play it once. It was pretty creepy. It was pretty cool. So these are going to be games that I'm going to come back to. I believe I have Age of Empires 3. If I take a look at my Steam library, I'm pretty sure that I have an Age of Empires game. Age of Empires 2. Sorry. Age of Empires 2 HD Edition. So we're going to have to look into that. And of course System Shock as well. So Age of Empires managed to beat System Shock. Okay, now we're starting to get into good stuff. The first surprise when I did this tournament was the Wolfenstein 3D versus Secret of Monkey Island. Now, I know that Secret of Monkey Island has its fan base. I know it's an excellent game. But in my book, Wolfenstein was going to win this one pretty easily. And I was surprised to see how bad it lost. So it really got crushed by, by Monkey Island. The next one was Day of the Tentacle versus TIE Fighter. I was a fan of Maniac Mansion, and I know Day of the Tentacle is like it's in the same universe. I believe I did try it when it came out. See, that's basically my background, is that when I was growing up, I had so many games, kind of like now actually. I had so many games that I tried them once, twice, and then I would go to the next one. There's a few exceptions in this list that I'm going to get to eventually. TIE Fighter, I did actually try it. I think I have it as well. So that one also was an excellent game. Quake versus Dark Forces. So I was pretty sure Quake was going to win. Dark Forces was actually my choice. I prefer the Star Wars universe for this Doom clone, so Dark Forces is actually pretty good. Full Throttle against Carmageddon. So this one was an easy pick for me, and the best game won in my book. Full Throttle managed to advance. So this is one of the games that I've never actually owned. I did purchase it recently when they did the remake. But when I was a kid back in the 90's, this is one of my friends that used to own it. So I used to go to his place all the time, and I remember he had the demo on with this PC Gamer magazine came a demo disc, and we used to play the demo of Full Throttle all the time until he bought it, and it was one of the most amazing games. So I'm pretty glad that one managed to go to the second round. Next was King Quest VI versus Dungeon Keeper. King Quest VI is actually one of my best games of all time. One of my favorite adventure games. So I was pretty happy to see that it passed. Unfortunately, I know they're not gonna go to the finals. So eventually we're gonna get to the fate of King Quest VI. But King Quest VI is an excellent game. There's so many iconic characters, so many spots. When you have to face the four, what are they, gnomes? The one that can see, the one that can smell. It's like the dwarves. I'm not sure what they are, but oh my god, I remember that one. I remember the Minotaur that you had to fight, the catacombs. I used to know the way through the catacombs by heart because I did it so many times. So the next one was Duke Nukem 3D versus Hexen. Now, unfortunately, I remember playing, was it Hexen or Heretic? I think it was Hexen. I do remember playing Hexen and finding it was really, really good, but I mean, come on, Duke Nukem 3D, that is pretty hard to beat. And of course, Duke Nukem did pass in round 2, so logic was respected. On the other end, we had Doom versus Civilization 2. So Doom is clearly the better game and won pretty easily. There's so many memories with Doom. I still remember a few codes. It was what was it? IDCLIP to move through walls. IDDQD was God mode. I don't remember by heart. I think that's right. Anyways. Doom was a classic game and one of the best games, and is pretty much heading towards the finals right now. So, long live Doom! Woohoo! The next matchup was Myst versus Daggerfall. Both excellent games. I do believe Myst was the most popular of the two, and it did win by quite a margin. So Myst advanced in the second round. Now the next matchup, I was surprised. This was a heartbreaker for a few people, including my wife. We had the matchup of Diablo versus Jazz Jackrabbit. Now, I'm a huge Diablo fan, and I know there's a lot of Jazz Jackrabbit fans out there. But Diablo pretty much squished Jazz Jackrabbit. So, and I know that basically broke the heart of many players. So I didn't know there was such a big fan base for Jazz Jackrabbit. I know Diablo is pretty popular. I have lots of memories for Diablo. I actually discovered Diablo on PlayStation again. So, and I remember I bought it because it was a 2-player co-op version. So it was amazing. Two player sitting on a couch, going to catacombs for the first time, opening that damn door and seeing all these acid spitters. It's like, run! Alright, next matchup. In round 1 we have it was Grim Fandango versus SimCity 2000. So I know Grim Fandango, this is another one of like, everybody tells me, oh my god, you have to play this game. I need to get to it because I know it's excellent. The voice acting, the story, everything, it looks amazing. I just need to get into it. SimCity 2000, I was a huge SimCity player, but the Super Nintendo version, the original SimCity, I did play a little bit of SimCity 2000 growing up. But I know Grim Fandango is... I understand why it passed and went to round 2. So, alright, now comes the fun part. This is the part everybody that followed the tournament is waiting for. Unreal versus Fallout 2. Alright, so this is the story. So, I again, when I created this, I tried to separate all the big names, like Doom was in a corner, Duke Nukem was in a corner, I put Baldur's Gate in another bracket. So, one of these brackets was Unreal versus Fallout 2, and if you asked me at the beginning, who do you think is gonna win, I would have said I have no clue, because I know people like both games, and that's exactly what happened after the first round. The votes were 50-50 for Unreal and Fallout 2, so, and I still had 3 other matchups after that, so I decided to let it go, and I knew I was going to figure out a way to try to break the ties. So, eventually what happened is that as we were nearing the end of the tournament, of the first round, I had planned to insert 2 games that were close, that I had lost, but that lost by only a few votes. One of those games I remember was Warcraft 2, which lost, I believe, by about 6 or 7 votes. And the other one, I believe, was SimCity, which had just lost by, again, maybe 3 or 4 votes. It was pretty close. It was like 54% versus 46%, something like that. So originally I had planned, okay, well, we'll do like some sort of fatal 4-way, and we'll put them together and see who wins. However, the last matchup of the first round was Gabriel Knight versus Lemmings, and surprisingly, Gabriel Knight lost. Lemmings won by 1 vote. It was 51% to 49%. So I was bummed out. I mean, Gabriel Knight, I'll admit, Gabriel Knight is one of my favorite games. It's one of my favorite franchise. Gabriel Knight 2 is like best FMV game ever. I was bummed out, but I saw an opportunity. I was like, hey, you know what? We're gonna pull a Master Chef. For those of you that watch sometimes Master Chef or these other cooking shows, competition shows, where sometimes they decide, hey, let's bring somebody back that was eliminated. So I basically decided to bring back Gabriel Knight against Unreal and Fallout. So for 12 hours, we had a special sudden death, and people were able to vote for these 3 games, and surprisingly, Gabriel Knight won, and unsurprisingly, Unreal and Fallout still tied. So it was still tied between those 2, but Gabriel Knight had a few votes extra. So That's why if you take a look at the bracket, you're going to see the winner between Unreal and Fallout 2 is Gabriel Knight. So that's the story of why Gabriel Knight. He's actually in the semifinals. He's not going to be there for long because Doom is kicking his ass. But at least it's nice to know that Gabriel managed to come back. So, second to last matchup of round 1 was Half-Life versus Ultima 7. I knew Ultima. I put Ultima 7, but I knew basically any Ultima would be crushed by Half-Life. So, and I wanted to include Ultima in this, even though I knew it wasn't going to win. Ultima is still one of the best RPG series on PC. So, and if you guys have no clue what I'm talking about, and if you guys want to be entertained for 4 or 5 hours, Google Ultima Retrospective Spoonie. Spoonie was a YouTube reviewer, and he goes through the Ultima timeline and all the games, and he's funny as hell. So, enjoy watching that. So Half-Life 1, I think it was like the most decisive win in the first round. It wasn't even close. And finally, the final matchup was Baldur's Gate versus Phantasmagoria. So, I'll admit, Phantasmagoria, that was me. I knew it was one of the best FMV games. It basically, if you talk to any 90's gamer that saw an FMV game, they know about Phantasmagoria. So, that's why it might not be the best-selling game, although I know it sold like over 1 million copies and everything, but I wanted to add it, and of course it got crushed by Baldur's Gate. So, so I'm gonna skip directly to these semifinals because there were other matchups in round 2 and round 3, but I don't want this to last like 30 minutes. Right now, there's 2 matchups that are being held. The first one is Secret of Monkey Island versus King Quest 6. And Secret of Monkey Island, I believe the poll is finished, but it was crushing King Quest, so it wasn't even going to be close. So even if it's not over, I know that Secret of Monkey Island is going directly in the finals, so that's good. And the other final, which is presently still underway for another 12 hours, is Doom versus Gabriel Knight. So yes, Gabriel Knight, even though got beaten by Lemmings, is possibly going in the finals. However, Doom is crushing Gabriel Knight. So, again, this is not official, but by the time that you guys listen to this recording, you guys are going to probably have a final of Secret of Monkey Island versus Doom. And this is going to be interesting because there are fans of both franchises, and I have no clue who's going to win. Technically, I believe Doom should win, but that's only because I never really played Secret of Monkey Island, but I do know Secret of Monkey Island is one of the best adventure games of all time. So I'm not sure. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, so that's basically what's going on, and we should technically the tournament should be finished by the end of August. So again, by the time that you listen to this podcast, you should already know who won if you're part of the Facebook group. So that was about it for the tournament. Now there's maybe 1 or 2 other things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. These are things that I discovered today. I'm gonna try to put the links somewhere in the description, but there's 2 indie games. There's 2 indie games that you guys are gonna have to keep an eye on. The first one is already out. If you guys are a fan of the Guacamelee game, which was a platformer game where you played this Mexican wrestler, and it was like a platform puzzle game. It was one of my favorite games on Xbox One. I remember getting it for free. No, actually I remember buying it on sale, and I played so many hours. I was surprised how good it was. And also, being a former wrestler in real life, it was fun to play a wrestling game that didn't suck. So, and I say wrestling game in quotations. So Guacamelee 2 is actually out on Steam. It came out a few days ago. And I did not get a chance to try it yet, but it's definitely something that I'll be looking into in the next few weeks. Once I do, I'll make sure to give you guys a review so that you guys know what to expect. And the second game that I saw today was for all the Street of Rage fans. There's a team that's working on Street of Rage 4. So you'll see that it's sort of like a cel-shaded version. If you guys ever played Double Dragon Neo, it kind of reminds me of that game. And Street of Rage 2 was one of my favorite games of all time back when I used to play Genesis. So definitely I'll be keeping an eye out. Once the release date is confirmed, I'll make sure to let you guys know. Hopefully it's going to be good. Please make sure it doesn't suck. Alright. So, yeah, that's about it. So, final thoughts before we finish this pilot episode is don't forget that we are now on Patreon, and there's a few things that are coming. There's some things I cannot discuss, but there are big things coming, especially for Patreon members. So, once again, one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is thanks to the Patreon members, the support, everything that you guys do. It's fully appreciated, and it's fun for us to grow thanks to you guys. Also, don't forget that all Patreon members are going to have an early access to the new gaming monthly magazine that we are working on. So, again, it's a simple 20-25 page magazine that we're going to be releasing. It's going to be an electronic version. However, if everything goes well, we might possibly bring out a physical copy to send you guys, depending on how well the Patreon goes. So, make sure to spread the word. Make sure that you join us on Patreon. The link is going to be in the description. Come over on Facebook. Come and chat with us. So, that's about it. So, again, I want to thank you guys for being there. I can't wait to do episode 1. It's going to be a different format, but I promise that it's going to be amazing and we're going to have some fun. So with that said, peace out and take care, guys. Bye-bye.